Alright, what's up guys? In today's episode we will be discussing Us, the brand new movie. Well, brand new as in it came out I think maybe now 2 weeks ago now.
Minions have spawned.
But this will be a spoiler review, so please, you are warned. It's more of a special request episode, so I saw Us opening weekend. Go for the kill. Oh, I didn't hit him. Okay. So I saw Us 2 weeks ago, opening weekend, and I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was very suspenseful. Let's see, what were some of my favorite parts about the film? The beginning scene with her getting lost and So, sorry, it's the first time doing like a talk about the actual movie and I kind of got lost. Sorry about that. Okay. So, how did I feel about the movie? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. It did have me on the edge of my seat for most of the movie. And I did call that twist at the end that the mom wasn't I called that they had switched. I didn't exactly know at some point, but I had a feeling they had switched. If that makes any sense. Ooh, I almost got that on.
Too good an end for him.
Okay, so I had called that they had switched, but the film did really have on the edge of my seat the entire time. Not as much as... Okay, so it's a little unfair to compare Us to Get Out. Yes, they're from the same director. They're kind of similar, you know. They're a horror film, and you know, they're like on society and something, right? But what I mean by they're a little, it's a little unfair to compare is that Us came out of Get Out came out of nowhere, right? Get Out just, you know, at least for me, it did. It was not on my radar. I had heard about Get Out. But there we go. Okay, so it wasn't really on my radar, and the only reason I saw Get Out was, well, the two reasons was, one, because of word of mouth, right? I started hearing it was good, and two, because I was bored that weekend. The weekend that Get Out was out, I was bored, and I didn't exactly know what to go watch, or we were just bored. I mean, my girlfriend was bored, and we didn't exactly know what to go out and watch.
Your allies decorate the seabed. Carve your name.
There we go.
Your mates feed in the fishes.
Oh, I almost got him. So we only watched it because we were bored. And so it was more of a surprise film than, you know, a film that was unlike Us, where after you saw Get Out, you were like, oh damn, I can't wait to watch the next one. I can't wait to watch what Jordan Peele does next. You know? So it's a little unfair. So like, okay, overall I thought Us was like an 8.5 out of 10 if we're gonna scale it. It's okay. Go back. If we're gonna scale it out of 1 through 10, Us is an 8 to an 8.5 for me personally. But what makes Get Out somewhere along the lines of a 9 or 9.5 to me is because of that surprise factor, because it came out of nowhere. At least to me, right? Maybe other people had it on the radar and were already hyped for it. But I didn't. I heard Jordan Peele was making a horror movie, and I was like, the guy that does the bits with ARAM? I was like, okay. That's interesting. We'll see how that goes, right? Because that's outside of his, let's say, expertise, right? But I still really enjoyed Us. I think the only time I don't enjoy Us is when I start to think about it a little too much, and then that's where my problem with the ending goes, right? So Again, spoilers. So for the ending, we know we find out that it was a government lab and like at some point in the 80s or for who knows how long, but the government decided they were gonna learn to clone people. Ah, that Fiora took my kill.
Your ally found friends. Triple kill. What a glorious mess.
Bitch, those were my kills. Alright, never mind. Anyways.
Your ally has been slain.
Let me get out of the way. Okay, so we learned that, you know.
Go take a sip from the fountain.
There we go. Look at that. I'm 3-2, or 3-2, whatever. So you know, we learned that the government had somehow learned how to clone these people, and you know they were somehow feeding off rabbits, and then they were abandoned or whatever. And that's when the film loses me, right? Because I think it's just one too many plot holes. Oh, can I get out? There we go. So first of all, we'll start with like I guess the more nitpicky minor one. Where do the people get like what happens when the double moves across the country or whatever? I don't believe all the tunnels are interconnected across the entire country. Then what, the shadow, the others are just smacking up against the wall every time they're moving? You know, it doesn't make a. That's where the film loses me, to be honest. It's some of the points where I can start to be like, wait a minute, because Get Out was a lot more solid, you know. Get Out had its lore it created, and its whole story was all wrapped up. Is that the right way? Its whole story was more believable, right? There wasn't. I'm sorry. I can't exactly figure out how to put it to words.
You put them in their place.
Oh, I could have ulted there. Oof. Come here. Okay. So that's one of my big problems with the ending. You know, I honestly would have liked it. I think a little more if it was more of a supernatural horror. No, not horror. Paranormal kind of other, you know, like demon. I don't know, you know, I can't explain it, but maybe you guys know what I mean. Oof, oof, oof,
Your ally has been slain.
that's Fiora's thing.
Won't be the last body to fall.
And then I think the biggest plot hole of them
Enemies are a killing spree.
was that
He's lost his innards. You have been slain.
it's okay, it's okay.
Mortality is true.
Okay. So I can't believe we're on. What time is it? It's about 15 minutes on my recording. Okay, so my biggest. Okay, so we learned that Lupita Nyong'o's character got switched at that fateful day in 1986, right?
Cuts is only the beginning.
So you mean to tell me we learned that the shadows mimic their regular counterpart, right? The others mimic the regular counterpart, right? We see them like always mimicking each other, right, or whatever. The roller coaster, and they're just like shaking in place or whatever.
I'll do whatever needs.
So we learned that. So why, when the shadow switches and then she's learning ballet and to dance and whatnot, why is the original, why is she mimicking her? You get where I'm going with this? I think that was one of my, like, walking out of the theater, that was like the biggest thing I was talking to my girlfriend about, was like, how? And we couldn't come to a conclusion on how. We kind of did with like, well, maybe, you know, when they switched there it switches, right? If whoever's on top is a daylight or whatever.
You earned your grog there.
And they switch, and that's why she's mimicking
A
her or
fine
whatever,
meal
right?
for the sharks.
Maybe, but you know, I think that with such
Shut down.
such a good job that he did with Get Out and its story, I felt like
An enemy
that
has
should,
been slain.
you know, they shouldn't have had too many plot holes, and I think that's
Aced. See if they learn their
where the movie
lesson.
kind of loses me. Only when I think about it a little too much, right? But like when I just think back to the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, that movie was great, you know. But the ending did lose me a little bit because it was cool, you know, government experiments. It didn't have to be like. It was cool that you chose to go that way, but I just didn't think it was executed well.
You solved that problem.
You know? And so, and then there's like, because we get further evidence, you know, that the top, that the shadow mimics the top, right? And that's when the sun, when he eliminates his other counterpart with him, like making him walk back into the fire and stuff, you know?
Tight always burn. A lone sailor left standing.
So, you know, you see him like stretch out his arms and starts walking back, and then his other counterpart does the same and walks straight into the fire. And so that further emphasizes the fact that, well, yeah, you know, that's how it works. So then why, when the other was dancing, when she switched with her regular, why was the regular one dancing down when she was down in the tunnels or whatever, right? And then, you know, with the bringing up the son and the children. So at some point, they were abandoned, and she said, you know, we were abandoned or whatever. And clearly, this was before, right? This was not too long. I think this was when she switches. At least the way I interpret it, or I took things, was when her other switch with her. They were already abandoned, and they were eating the rabbits and whatnot. Not to mention, where the hell do they get their water supply? But whatever.
A prison for the slaughtered.
Ah, they all took my kill.
Ally double kill.
So, you know, like, where did they get their water supply? That's even more nitpicky or whatever. But where is, okay, so she meets her other, or whatever, her, with the Mumbaku from Black Panther. I don't know. They have kids, and then the others do the same thing, and they do it and have kids or whatever.
Making an example.
Okay, so why are the kids clones, you know? Why are the kids also clones, you know? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because just, you know, they were cloned, yeah, at some point when they were little, but why are the kids clones? You know, why are the kids identical to each other? Again, I know, before he talks about the movie.
Your ally has been
Oof.
slain.
She's going for me. She's going for me. She's getting me. And a dead.
I'd like to see that again.
So that didn't make much sense to me, you know? I was like, well, how did that happen? And I guess, yes, that's a little bit more nitpicky than usual or than you should be, but, you know, with Get Out having its story not like that, then that's where you can actually, you know, compare it there, you know? Like, how did he do such a good job with this story and miss these little things in this story, you know?
An enemy has been slain.
But yeah, that's that's most of how I feel about the movie. I thought it was good. I highly suggest people go out and watch it because it's still in theaters.
Nature bends.
Because it is very suspenseful.
Break.
It is horror, but not too horror. It's more. I think it's more suspense than horror. Because yeah, there's like they kill people and stuff, but it just more has you on the edge of your seat
Let them know who you are.
than like being holy shit. You know,
Inhibitor destroyed.
God, that was scary. Because there's not a lot of jump scares, and I like that. Because I feel like that's such a cheap tactic now in horror movies. All the jump scares and whatnot. And I know I was going with this somewhere, but we're so close to the end. I got distracted.
You have slain an enemy. The enemy gains speed. Shut down.
Okay, I got it.
Shut down. Everything got an end. Enemy double kill. Shut down. Eyes always
I did.
burn. Our allies lost his innards.
Anyways, sorry again. This is my first like movie review, I guess, and I kind of wanted to have a webcam to do it more like a traditional movie reviewer that I kind of look up to, that kind of inspired me to do this to start my channel. But this was a special request. I did like the soundtrack to it. I thought it was very good. Did kind of ruin what's that song? That song by the Beach Boys. One is playing when they're in their friend's house. Good Vibration. Yeah, I think it's Good Vibration.
Put them in their place.
Yeah, it kind of ruined that movie. That song for me. Kind of like the new Joker trailer. Ruined Smile. Not ruined, but
Unstoppable.
alright, we got this.
Won't be the last body to fall.
We're going for the win. Oh, I didn't stun it. Creation? But the soundtrack was really good. Had my going. Oh, but there is a theory that the kids, that the two kids were swapped at one point, but I don't really much believe that theory.
This is
Going
your
on
town.
the internet. There was a couple theories going on. Some that I thought were more plausible, some that I didn't, like the kids switching. But that wasn't as believable. I'll give it a Fiora. But yeah, this was my first review and spoiler review. And if you guys watched it, thank you very much. I will see you guys later. You guys have a good day. I hope you guys enjoyed.